Welcome back. Previously, we have begun with correlation and regression module, and in that, we were discussing about the introduction and the basic concept regarding correlation. Let us discuss some of the different types of correlation cases. So, previously, we discussed that positive correlation, negative correlation, linear correlation, non-linear correlation, likewise. So, let us discuss how this can be represented. If it is represented in a graph, how it will be like that. Okay, remember, positive correlation will be always a line. So a curve that moves upward from left to right is known as a positive curve. A line that moves from left to right, a downward curve from left to right is known as negative curve. That is the concept of positive and negative. Okay, next one. Here it is a curve. Here it is a straight line. Curve is known as non-linear correlation, and a straight line graph is known as linear correlation. So a upward line that moves from left to right is a positive linear curve. Same here, a upward curve, it is not a straight line, it is a curve from left to right is a positive non-linear. Likewise, negative and negative non-linear. I hope you understand the concept. Next one, measures of correlation. Correlation between two variables can be measured by using two methods. One is graphic method, another is algebraic method. Scatter diagram and correlation graph are the two important graphic methods, while coefficient of correlation is an algebraic method for measuring correlation. The simple difference is that in graphic method you will be using pictorial representation for finding out the correlation. In algebraic method you will be using mathematical equations for finding the correlation. That is the simple difference between graph method and algebraic method. So first let us discuss about the graphic method. First one, scatter diagram. This is a graphical method of studying the correlation between two variables. One of the variables is shown on the x-axis and the other on the y-axis. Each pair of values is plotted on the graph by means of a dot mark. After all the items are plotted, we get as many dots on the graph paper as the number of points. If the points show some trend either upward or downward, the two variables are said to be correlated, as we have seen in the figures of a correlation diagram in the previous slide, just like that. If the plotted points do not show any trend means it doesn't show a upward movement from left to right or a downward movement from left to right, then in that case the two variables are not correlated. If on the other hand the tendency is reverse, so that the points show a downward trend from left top to the right bottom, the correlation is negative, as we have discussed earlier regarding positive as well as negative. The scatter diagram is a visual aid to show the presence or absence of correlation between two variables. A line of best fit can be drawn using the method of least squares. This line will be as close to the points as possible. If the points are falling very close to this line, there is very high degree of correlation. If they lie very much away from the line, it shows that correlation is not much. We will discuss each cases of scatter diagram regarding positive as well as negative through different examples of figures. So that is the concept of scatter diagram. Just point out the various points stated as given in the question, like if x and y is given, x will be consist of certain numbers, y will be consisting of certain numbers. If you plot these numbers in a graph, you will get a number of points If you go through this general trend of the points might be concentrated in a certain point, or it is like a line draw. In that case, there is this correlation. If the points are scattered all around the graph, it means there exists no correlation. We will discuss with an example, then you will get a clear picture. So, what are the merits of scatter diagram? It is easy to plot the points, simple to use and understand because it is very easy. Just plot the points in a graph. Relation between two variables can be studied in a non-mathematical way. Without using the mathematical equation, you can easily find whether there exists relationship or not. But it has its demerits. Since it is not using any equations or mathematical methods, the results are not exact and accurate. We can't always rely on scatter diagram method for measuring correlation. It gives only approximate idea of the relationship. It doesn't exactly pinpoint the actual relationship between the variables under study. So these are the concepts of scatter diagram method. The second method under graphic method is correlation graph. And regarding correlation graph, this is an extension of linear graphs. In this case, two or more variables are plotted on graph paper. If the curves move in the same direction, the correlation is positive, and if it moves in the opposite direction, then the correlation is negative. But if there is no different direction, there is absence of correlation. Although it is a simple method, by this shows only rough and estimated nature of relationship, just like the scatter diagram. So what is the difference between scatter diagram and a graph method? In scatter diagram, you will not draw a straight line or a curve because your analysis is based on the points plotted in a graph. But in graph method, you will be drawing a line. It may be a straight line or it may be a curve depending upon the points plotted. So what are the merits of the graphic method is? It is simple and easy to use. Relation between two variables can be studied in a non-mathematical way, just like the merits similar to the scatter diagram. The demerits are, it is non-mathematical method, so results are non-exact and accurate, just like the demerit of a scatter diagram. It gives only approximate idea of the relationship. It is almost similar to the merits and demerits of the scatter diagram. So just now we have discussed about, until now we have discussed about positive correlation, negative correlation, linear curve, non-linear curve, scatter diagram, graph method. So let us discuss all these with the help of a graph. Then you will get a clear picture regarding how a correlation graph is represented, what is the concept and meaning of each graph. See, you can see that there is an x-axis and y-axis, and you can see a numerous plus signs. Plus signs means dot. Instead of putting dot, for easy identification only plus sign is used. So you can see that a number of dots, plus signs is dotted on it, is marked on a graph. The marking of plus signs or dot, instead of dot I am using plus sign. Sorry, marking of plus sign in a graph, and on the base of that graph you will be explaining whether there exists a correlation or not. Such a concept is known as scatter diagram or scattered graph. So this is an example of scatter diagram, but there will be no line in case of scatter diagram. On the base of the concentration of this plus sign, you can understand that there exists a movement from left to right, from top to bottom. So this is a case of high degree of negative correlation. We all know that if a line or a curve, whatever it is, moves from left to right, that is up to down, it is known as negative correlation. Okay. And high degree of negative correlation means the intensity, if you draw a straight line in between the dots, you can see that dots are concentrated closer to the line. That means high degree. If it is if these dots are marked on the line, it is known as perfect correlation. If it is concentrated near the line, it is known as high degree of correlation. And the position or movement of the line is known as negative or positive. So I hope you know what is the meaning of negative correlation. So this is a case of high degree of negative correlation. Likewise, if you go through this, you can see that it is also similar to this one. The only difference is that it moves from left to right and it is an upward movement curve. So I hope you know what is the meaning of this one. This is high degree of positive correlation. I hope you are getting to my point. So now you know what is meant by positive and negative correlation with a high degree. See, wow, this one is good. Here all the points is on this line itself. So it is a case of negative, perfect negative correlation. Why it is negative? Because it moves from left to right and this is a downward moving curve. So then what will be this one? This one is a perfect positive correlation curve. So now we know what is my high degree of correlation, and we know what is my perfect correlation and how high negative and positive can be identified. Next one, see here the points are scattered all around the curve. So this is a case of low degree of negative correlation. Here it is very low because there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 points that are close, not even closer. We can say that it is almost close to the line. Then it is a case of low degree of negative correlation. Negative correlation because it moves from left to right. See, this one is a movement from left to right and it is upward movement curve. So we can say that low degree of positive correlation. So these are the situations in which there exists correlation, at least there exists correlation. Here there exists good form of correlation. In these two figures there exists at least a low degree of correlation. So there are figures in which there exists no correlation. So how it will be like? These are the examples of figures that represent no correlation at all. This one, see, it is spread all over the curves. We can't find where it is, where a line can be drawn, whether it is upward or downward or it is from left to right. We don't know how to draw a line in this one. So it is a case of no correlation situation. And here you may think that here the points are plotted on the line itself, then how can it be a no correlation graph? Because a correlation graph will be a line that either it will be a straight line or a curve that moves from left to right. It may be upward movement or a downward movement, but it will be always from left to right. Here it is a line that moves parallel to the x-axis. And here another one. You can see that here also points are plotted on the line. We can't consider it as a correlation graph because here the line is just parallel to y-axis. A line should be it should have either it may be a straight line or a curve. It should move from left to right. It may be an upward movement or a downward movement. It should not be parallel to any of the axes. So these are the examples of no correlation situation. So understand the concept of correlation and the various types of correlation. Just go through the figures with the theoretical aspect. Understand the concept. We will discuss about the further cases in the next session.